My name is Lucille. I'm a photographer, an artist, and I do write also. In the past years, I mainly develop a work about a notion about like memory, history, how the notions are political, how they do behave with each other. And in like since 2 or 3 years, I work mainly on cemeteries as geopolitical places. And it's what led me to Cancelat, to work on the mass graves related to the Civil War and the Franco regime. Spanish history was quite of a blank spot for me, but like my link to cemeteries, because I worked on cemeteries before, was like kind of the thing that led me to like, okay, let's try to work about that. So when I was searching what I was going to propose to the residency, I ended up in a government website from Catalonia with a map showing like all of the mass graves in Catalonia, and I was quite shocked by the number of them. There is really different kind of mass graves here in Spain, and sometimes there is a memorial, sometimes it's quite sure the body was found, there is name, there is like the idea of like giving a dignity to the dead, and sometimes there is nothing because like no excavation was done, or because people don't know, because it's only oral testimony. So it's for now I'm really like photographing and trying to find different typology of mass grave, and to also reflect on like how do we look at the landscape when we know that there is like multiple mass graves, and also how by photographing them it's also a way of trying to show all of the complicated discussion that it is now for Spanish people and all of the work that were done by actual citizens about this topic. So I mainly photograph in analog because I met photography through analog, and I realized like, because analog forces you to photograph in a different kind of timing, because obviously, first of all, it costs money. So every picture has a cost on a really like rational basic, but also like it's the physicality of it. Analog medium has something kind of really physical that I really like. And especially in my own belief or interest in like history, memories, the idea that the pictures is inside something, like it exists physically, is really important, because then it can disappear. And I felt it way more tangible than with digital. One of the historians I really like is Ivan Jablonka, and he said something like, history happens to all of us, happened and happens to all of us, in our intimacy, but also as a collective thing. And so multiple like historic events happen to us, but continue to happen in a way, because like history is also about the present, and especially like in Spain, where like the question about like, should we reopen mass graves, how do we do it, and like how it's a complicated topic. And so for me, photography is trying to photograph like the trace of history that like emerge from the ground, kind of. It's always about layers, like of multiple things. So I don't know if like I use photography in a way to like directly talk about memory, but more about like what is there, and how, but what is there we can like dig inside to like historic event or memory, or how do we remember a place, and yeah. I see art as something always really political, and I want those pictures to allow people to discover kind of different area that can be used to think about how we live together, and it's up to the people to like get the energy to actually learn about the history, and I just try to open a door so they can start thinking about it, because it's exactly what I do. Even here, I went here, I opened the door, and I was just like, oh, okay, Civil War, interesting, I knew nothing about that, and it's actually like extremely interesting, and it has way more link with like other subjects that are important to me that I knew before. And it's always interesting to make link.